Pokemon Run and Bun. It is a pretty hard game. Wow, I know. Incredible, masterful analysis. The best way I can describe Run and Bun is that it's basically a puzzle roguelike under a classic Pokemon hood. And it also has a pinch of chili powder. It has updated mechanics in Pokemon up to Generation 8, but this is not an enhancement hack like Drayano ROMs or Radical Red, where the goal is to expand on the classic Pokemon experience with, more options and more Pokemons and more harder fights. This game is mostly just more harder fights. And yeah, it is designed to be a challenge. It's not something that you play to, beat. It is something that you have to sink your teeth and time and effort into for hours upon hours, only to be left broken, battered, and jobless. This is not a game that you can really enjoy casually, because it just does everything in its power to kinda halt your progress, dismantle your box, and frustrate you. And yet, behind all of the 300 or so carefully handcrafted fights lies a plethora of solutions. Solutions that I can assure you the game always provides. It is now up to you to see if you can find them or not. The game is difficult, sure, and it requires so much from the player, but it has been beaten before. It can be done. The question then is, do you have what it takes? Well, considering that only like 100 or so players have beaten the game officially, the answer most likely is fucking no. So, there's that. So the first thing you can do in this game is fix a clock and talk to your mom once and never again. Classic Pokemon experience. Then you intrude your neighbor's home and find a Pokeball. I would have dropped a tungsten cube on top of it because inside is a little baby Hitler, but my neighbor went home before I could do the deed. Then I went to the woods and saw a guy getting chased by a little critter. Here I made the most important decision of the run and went on to face Malekith the Black Blade. My Turtwig proceeds to whiff like 10 attacks because me and my Pokemon, we share a bond. And a brain-eating amoeba. So when I say that your star choice is the most important decision you will ever make in Run and Bun, I completely mean it. Like, basically it's kinda like picking your class, and your class kinda determines how easy certain sections of the game are, right? So for example, Turtwig. Turtwig is kinda like the barbarian. Very bulky, hits very hard, but kinda simple, kinda slow, and eventually in the late game, it doesn't become bad, right? This Pokemon is still excellent. It's a tank with shell armor, meaning it's one of the most consistent out there because it cannot be critted. It also has consistent healing in Synthesis. It hits super hard with Earthquake. Like, this thing is excellent. The reason why it becomes less and less powerful in the late game is simply because you get more option. What it does is very simple. It tanks and it hits back. Eventually you will not need it as much, but that doesn't mean that it's bad. And this thing in the early game, oh my god, it's a savior. It's good in all of the first 4 gyms. If you pick this thing, you will always have answers to certain things in those first 4 gyms. It's nuts. This Pokemon is great if you want to just punt through the early game, get to the mid game, and hope that the rest of your encounter could pull you through in terms of late. And if you want guaranteed power in the late game, but a much more shaky early game, you want to pick Chimchar. Chimchar is the wizard. Early on, it doesn't have power, it doesn't have anything. No versatility, it just fucking sucks, okay? Monferno fucking sucks. This thing is so frail, it doesn't hit that hard at all. It's so ass. But the moment you get to level 3 spells and get Fireball, you know what's gonna happen. You know what's going down. Infernape is very simple. It clicks Fake Out to break Shash, it do chip, and then it fucking kills you. This thing is, in my opinion, the best wall breaker in the game. Even better than shit like Urshifu or Latios, simply because you have access to it for so long and it hits both sides of the defensive spectrum. physical or special. It hits hard either way. It has an attack, an aura sphere, that never misses. And this is going to be super huge in sections like, for example, the desert, where you have to fight stuff with sand veil and bright powder. It's so good. Like, as I said, the wizard, suck in the early game, insane. Like, arguably the best Pokemon in the game in late, simply because of how impactful it is throughout the mid to late game. But if you want something that is okay at everything, you want to pick Piplup. Piplup is kind of the bard or the fighter class because it kind of does everything okay. It does have attack, right? It does have offense. It does have defense. It has a good ability, like it can heal with Life Dew, it can have priority and Aqua Jet, it can debuff with Fairy Dance. It does everything okay. But that's the thing, it does fucking everything. Like, Empoleon is the Pokemon you want to choose if you don't want to rely on your encounters, because the nature of Nuzlocke means that you will just get a bunch of random mons, and sometimes you will just get a bunch of guys that does the same fucking thing 10 times in a row. And at that point, you're kind of fucked. You need a lot of variety in a game like Run and Bun, right? This game is very hard. You need to have good shit as well. So Empoleon kinda solves that problem by doing fucking everything, right? If you want something to pivot in, you have Empoleon. If you want something to 1v1, Empoleon does that well. If you want a tank, Empoleon. Like, this Pokemon is not best in class, far from it, at anything, but it just does everything okay to arguably good. Like, true Swiss Army knife. If you want to play something that is good in the early game, good in the late game, like never excelling at any point, but always consistently great, go Empoleon. After fending off the foul beast, I proceed to get a hold of my rod and some balls. Finally, encounter time. Usually I would start with Route 103 for the chance of Xatu, which has the ability Synchronize. This is potentially huge because if you lead Xatu and encounter a wild Pokemon, that encounter has a high chance of having the same nature as the bird, allowing you to potentially avoid bad natures and even acquire good ones if you're lucky. What I got instead though was Starly, Bounceweed, Sizzlipede, Litleo, and Surskit. Starly and Bounceweed are stinkers early on, Sizzly and Litleo are kinda mediocre all throughout the game, but Surskit is a really good net, having access to Intimidate, Unimmunity, and key resistances as a Masquerain, all of which you can get pre-Brawly. I then move on to run them kids' pockets. My Pokemon might have started to question my morality, but I remain ignorant. Mostly because I don't understand them. The first spooky fight in the game for me is versus Lady Cindy, with 3 strong Pokemon that aims to paralyze and infatuate your whole team. Run and Bun is as progressive as it is sadistic because the track works on any genders. Nice. After beating up the Pirate Man, we face the greatest new filter in the whole game. Just like in Emerald, you have to speak to Mr. Briny, an impossible task. But in Run and Bun, if you speak to Pico the Wingull, it would trigger a near impossible boss fight. Thankfully, I am very good at talking to old people, and bad at talking to birds. This game makes you face Brawly before you do Roxanne, which means you gotta go to Dewford first. So here, we get a massive power spike. First, I can counter the Gunfish, which fucking sucks. This thing sucks, I don't even remember its name. Seal is a pretty strong Pokemon and deserves infinite headpats. Meaningful though, is the cream of the crop, the first A-tier encounter of this run. This is especially true if it has the ability Regenerator. Since you cannot use healing items, healing in any form is a massive boon. With the newly powered-up box, I easily dismantle all of the fights up to Slateport, where we receive another massive power boost. Firstly, you get access to move tutors for hidden power and secret power. Secondly, I hit another insane encounter in Quillfish, an early game saint. All of this should theoretically allow me to tackle the museum grunts with ease. Right? Yeah, they're not that hard. The museum grunt fight is what I would call the first boss fight of this game. Mechanically, it is a back-to-back, consecutive fights with no downtime, no healing, no team swap, nothing. It is also what I consider a box check, a complicated fight that requires strategic planning and a competent box. All boss fights in this game are box checks, where brute force is not an option and your plan must be airtight. One mistake can cost you everything. The first grunt is simple to deal with. they're not here to kill your run. Instead, the goal is to weaken your team enough to make the second fight truly run-ending. Murkrow is straightforward, but is very strong at this point in the game. I would recommend using your evolved Pokemon to deal with it, such as the 101 Normies or the 102 Birds. Sprout is incredibly bulky and has the chance to confuse you on top of inflicting Toxic. These two are built to beat down at least 2 of your Pokemons, making the next fight basically a 4v3. Tortuga is fortunately not too bad, as any Route 103 grass types or Dew-foot fighters should win pretty cleanly. Just pray for no Omniboost. The second run is where the fight truly begins. Marini plans to spread Toxic all over your team, setting up the 2 other Pokemon for devastating damage. Frillish is the first Sentinel, being stronger, faster, and bulkier than anything you've faced. It has Hex to quickly burst you down and recover if you don't quickly burst it. But this Whirlipede is the worst Pokemon here. Rocky Helmet deals a lot of damage over time. Speed Boost makes it impossible to outspeed. Poison Tail and Venoshock is a terrifying combo, but Rollout and Piss Missile? That's pretty funny, but Piss Missile are truly run-ending. With some bad luck, it would tear your team to shreds. Assuming you played well and ended with 4 relatively healthy Pokemon after the first run, the plan is as follows. Against Marini, you want to use poison-immune Pokemons. It will spend 1 turn to soak that Pokemon, letting you get a free attack. Then you should switch to a Pokemon holding the Pecha Berry to absorb the Toxic. It will probably try to Toxic again, so switch back to your immunity. Hit it as it soaks, pivot, repeat until death. In comes the Frillish, and you want to deal damage to it fast. I can safely 1v1 thanks to Grotto, but if your grass type is too frail, you can try to pivot between it and a normal type to avoid Hex. I have, however, no tips for Whirlipede. You just have to face it depending on the state of your team. For me, I have used a combo of Intimidate and Shell Armor to safely weaken it. I used Corphish to knock off his helmet, allowing the rest of the team to safely take it down. Oh yeah, I bought a Corphish in the seafood aisle. I was a little hungry. What? What was that? Well, what should I do if I don't have a poison type? What I would do is to fuck myself and reset the run. I'm just kidding. Just put a bunch of Petchas and pray. This fight is a lot easier if you have a poison immune Pokemon like, say, Quillfish. There's also stuff like Beedrill and Krogunk and Roserage that you can get access to, but yeah, this fight's pretty hard. After I punch a random camper very hard very fast, I took his candy and caught Electric's little brother. Oh yeah, I got a Parasite in 104. I forgot to mention that. Now there's only one thing left to do. Brawly. Even though my box is undoubtedly great, even when I have so many tools, Brawly is and always will be a risky venture. His Pokemons are cracked, each requiring utmost care to beat. This massive box check requires you to have at least 1 decent mon for each of these beasts, some of whom require at least 2. If you overplay your hand in the museum fight and lose 1 too many mons, your run is as good as dead. Depths in Run and Bun and Nuzlocke in general pile up like a rolling boulder. A dead encounter is one less option, one less safety net, one step closer to death. Okay, so let me just kind of review my plans for now a little bit. I have 2 outs here, but let's just say that currently my situation is kind of dire. Essentially, versus Hitmontop, I have a really consistent way to deal with it via Quillfish, Grotto, and Meanfu. Basically, the idea is that I use Quillfish to take Mach Punch and get Intimidate off. I go to Meanfu as it Rock Slide, and I can figure that to chip. And after like 1 or 2 rock intimidates, I can easily go into Grotto with Shell Armor to win the matchup very easily. Poliwhirl can be beaten by Electric, but I am not very happy with that line at all. I think because the problem is Electric is completely useless against everything else. I feel like it's so garbage. Against the Scraggy, Mifu does it, so I solved these. Let's say I just solved these 3 for now, okay? Let's just say I have these 3 locked down. Now the problem is these 3, because Quillfish is gonna take so much damage from like Mach Punch and potential crits and even fake outs, right? I cannot really afford to use it against the Combuskin because it doesn't actually even do that much damage. The Kupfu is really bad as well. The problem with the Kupfu is I don't really have anything that can tank 2 hits against it in to kill it back. Lopunny is not as terrible, but it's still very suspicious because I have to use Grotto to switch in and take one Retaliate. It takes like less than half most of the time, which is really good. But like I need exactly that much to fight the Hitmontop is the problem. And Combuskin, I basically have nothing safe against. I do have Celio, but like that's 5 slots. And I still need something for the Kupfu, and I don't really have anything for this Lopunny. Besides like the switch in Grotto, it's so scuffed. Do I just sack the electric here? Okay, before we think about sacking or something, let's talk about my outs right now. I have 2 outs in total. First of all, is through the rare candy. I fought this camper guy, but once you beat them, you get access to the route where you get the electric type. That's how I got the electric. But also the rare candy. The rare candy is a resource that you get in this game that allows you to get past the level cap. So my level cap right now is 21, and there's 2 Pokemon on my team that evolves at 22, specifically Masquerain and Parasect. And looking at the numbers, these 2 aren't that great for this fight. Like Masquerain usually is very good in against Brawly. It's also minus defense nature, so unfortunately the matchup against this Kupfu that I really need right now is also kind of dubious. Parasect though does have a very consistent matchup against the Kupfu because I can Spore it, I can Bug Bite to eat its berry, I can then Mega Drain, and basically at the end of the fight I should have more than like 3/4 of my health, which is really good. Do I have to sack? Like that's the problem right here. Like I need 4 slots at least, and then I need something else for the Lopunny because I don't know if Grotto can tank. Like Grotto can tank only 1. I need something else to tank. Man, this is so scuffed. I still have 1 out. I still have 1 out. So my one final out is the Granite Cave. I've been delaying the Granite Cave. Now I have a choice. I can either choose between Granite Cave BF1F to get myself always a normal type resistance, so that I have a good matchup against the. I get my switch in against the fucking Lopunny, or I go to Steven's room and get myself something to fight the Kupfu. After an hour of calcing, I assemble what is likely my final team. First, Grotto, Meanfu, and Quillfish are locked in to fight Hitmontop and Scraggy. With Grotto, I am very likely to bait Ice Beam from Whirl, which allows me to switch into my newly evolved Celio risklessly. I then can pivot into Quillfish to tank a superpower, weakening the stupid fucking asshole of a fatherless turd-smelling tadpole. Too much? Nah, not enough hatred. Thanks to the defense drop, Quillfish should win the matchup without taking significant damage. I can then use Cecilio to fight Combuskin. This matchup is risky and I will need to dodge crits all the way, but it's my best bet to consolidate team slots. Thanks to Celio, I have 2 slots left, one for Kupfu, the other for Lopunny. Against Kupfu, I currently have Parasect as the safest option, but that requires my rare candy and it's pretty useless beyond that. For Lopunny, the best thing in my box is Staravia, who I'm risking a crit against, but at least I can get an Intimidate off, and potentially save my rare candy. More importantly, if I don't get critted, I have an extra Intimidate mon to relieve Quillfish off of his duty that also happens to outspeed most of Brawly's team for revenge killing purposes. I decide to take the risk. I will place my trust in Staravia. Run and Bun is unforgiving. I will need all the advantages I can get. If Staravia dies, this run simply isn't meant to be. With that, I lock in my decision, enter Steven's room, and pray that whatever I get here will be enough to get me through. And I got a little fella. Hello! Hatenna is another Pokemon that evolves using the rare candy. Fuck! In the long run, this Pokemon is great, thanks to its ability Synchronize. I mentioned this briefly at the start of the video, but it gives me control over my encounter's nature. This one is bold, which is not ideal. You usually want to have an offensive nature due to how the game works. After all, if you KO the opponent first, you won't get hit. But for Brawly, it's perfect. Hadram easily kills Kupfu, and at max HP, it always survived a crit sucker punch, which is absurd. With the move Play Nice, I can lower its attack while avoiding sucker punches, and I can heal any random hits with Life Dew. This means I should win the matchup with HP to spare, allowing me to pivot more liberally. If I unfortunately get critted by Sucker Punch, there's a chance the incoming Lopunny will go for Headbutt instead of a Retaliate, since both C's kill, allowing my Staravia to take much less damage and become my spare HP bag instead. With this, a lot of inconsistencies with Lopunny, Combuskin, and Scraggies get solved, as I can safely pivot and bait specific attacks. It's perfect. All I need to do is spend my one candy and this fight is pretty much solved. I clear all the gym trainers with ease and challenge the gym leader himself. In comes our new hero, Hadram. I immediately go for play. Fuck. After a few turns of scrambling and getting rid of 5 Sucker Punches PP, I thought I was safe until he revealed a 6th. Now my supposed health advantage is nullified completely. I switch to Staravia and dodge my first crit. From now on, I know that I'm way behind in health. Chances are I will need to sacrifice half my team to guarantee victory. An important skill in Nuzlocke is tempo sacking, to deliberately sacrifice a Pokemon to get another in safely. I will not do that here. I refuse to dig the graves of my own soldiers. Not this early. I will risk the entirety of this incredible run on this fight. If I get unlucky, like how Staravia could have gotten crit, it was simply never meant to be. If luck smiles upon me, however, I will emerge from this battle with an amazing run. Feast or famine, or nothing, fuck it, we ball. I risk a flinch and a second crit to deal as much damage to Lopunny as possible. As Holyworld enters the fray, I pivot between Celio, Quillfish, and Mienfoo to finish it off. First blood for the Weasel. Lopunny comes back in now. After a prayer and a quick bathroom break, I send in Grotto to take the nuke. Let's get a little greedy. I pivot twice to Quillfish and risk a crit on both it and Mienfoo, allowing me to kill Lopunny with HP on Grotto. Second blood. Hitmontop comes in, and I begin my pivoting plan. Quillfish got lower than anticipated and was chased by Pursuit. No crits. After one Rock Smash, Grotto comes in and cleans up the raid boss. Combuskin is the greatest threat here. If Celio gets critted by any one of the next moves, this run is over. Incinerate comes in. No crit. Double Kick comes in flying. 1, 2, 0 crits. I chip it to the red, switch to Mienfoo, third kill. Last but not least is the detestable Scraggy. Even after everything, I still have to risk a power-up punch crit. My team is simply too low HP to clutch up now. I have to go in swinging. But this one is greatly in my favor. Since Mienfoo is faster, there's a 15% chance for Scraggy to go for Rock Tomb. If I had switched at any point, Scraggy could potentially go for it and kill everything on my team. Thankfully, Mienfoo is now slower, making Power Up Punch the only possible move here. Once again, I am risking a crit on Quillfish, and I might have to risk another when I switch back in. I don't have a choice, but at this point, I'm not scared anymore. Run and Bun is unforgiving, unreasonable, and unbelievably difficult, but it is not unfair. I have come this far. If I get crit now, it is simply never meant to be. But I can end this video content. Whatever happens, it is what it is. Alright, what it is what it is? Wow, this game is easy.